What if Luke Skywalker had rebuilt the Jedi Order right after Return of the Jedi? The second Death Star was destroyed. The Emperor was dead. The Sith were no more. Across the galaxy, the Empire crumbled, its remnants retreating to the shadows as the New Republic rose from the ashes of war. But as the celebrations spread across the stars, one man remained restless. Luke Skywalker stood atop a mountain on Endor, gazing at the night sky. The Force swirled around him, whispering in his mind. The voices of the past: Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, and Anakin Skywalker. You must pass on what you have learned. For so long he had been a student, learning from the last remnants of the Jedi. But now, with the war over, there was only one path forward. The Jedi had to rise again. Not the same rigid, dogmatic Jedi of old. A new order. And so, instead of searching for long lost secrets, Luke Skywalker made his fateful choice. He would rebuild the Jedi, here and now. Word spread quickly. The Jedi were returning. Across the galaxy, those who had survived the Purge emerged from the shadows. They had lived in exile for years, haunted by the past, afraid to reveal themselves. But now, Luke Skywalker, the man who had defeated Darth Vader, was calling them back. Among those who answered were Cal Kestis, Oppo Rancisis, and Quinlan Voss. They, together, formed the foundation of the new Jedi Order. But there was one problem. None of them were truly teachers. They were warriors now, survivors. And yet, despite their uncertainty, the Order began to grow. Across the Outer Rim, they found four sensitive children, some lost, some orphaned by war, others in hiding since the Purge. A new generation of Jedi. And yet, Luke felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. Was he truly ready for this? Ahsoka Tano had remained in the shadows for years, never claiming the title of Jedi. But when she had heard rumours of a new order, she had to see it for herself. She arrived at the growing temple, an old ruin rebuilt with hope. The sight of the younglings training brought a warmth to her heart. But when she saw Luke at the centre of it all, leading like a grand master, something felt wrong. She approached him alone that night. Luke, you're not ready for this. He frowned. The Jedi need to return, Ahsoka. They do. But you're still learning yourself. You're not a teacher. You're not ready yet. Luke sighed, running a hand through his hair. I can't afford to wait. The galaxy needs the Jedi now. We have the survivors. We have the students. If we wait too long... You are risking repeating the same mistakes of the past, Ahsoka interrupted. Luke hesitated. Ahsoka softened. You're trying to do something new. Something better. I respect that. But how can you lead an order when you're still searching for who you are? Luke looked down. He had no answer. And yet, the order continued to grow. It happened in the dead of the night. A storm raged over the temple, rain hammering against the stone walls. Luke awoke with a start. The Force screamed in warning. And then the explosions began. The temple shook, fire consuming the walls as shadows moved through the night. Figures cloaked in darkness descended upon the students. Screams echoed. Lightsabers ignited. The Jedi fought back, but their enemy was unlike anything they had ever faced. A figure stepped through the flames, tall, cloaked in darkness. His presence was suffocating. A deep, guttural voice filled the air. Your order ends before it even began. Snoke. The Jedi Masters rushed to meet him. Oppo Rancisis struck first, his green blade moving in a defensive arc. Snoke barely moved. A flick of his wrist sent the Jedi Master flying backward, crashing into the temple walls. Quinlan Vos and Cal Kestis attacked next, moving as one. Snoke caught their blades mid-air, and then he broke them. The shattering sound of kyber crystals screamed through the Force. Luke arrived just in time to see his fellow Jedi fall. Oppo Rancisis lay motionless, his body twisted at an unnatural angle. Quinlan Vos gasped for breath, a gaping wound in his chest. Cal Kestis, barely conscious, reached out, only to be silenced. The younglings cried out in terror as Snoke's forces dragged them away into the darkness. Luke could only watch as his dream turned to ash. His temple burned, his Jedi lay dead, and Snoke turned to face him. "I will break you, Skywalker." Snoke's power was beyond anything Luke had faced. His lightsaber strikes were effortless, precise, monstrous. Luke fought with everything he had, drawing on the Force, reaching into its depths for strength. But Snoke was beyond him. A brutal strike to his ribs sent Luke to his knees. A backhanded blow shattered his nose. A final strike across his shoulder sent him crashing to the temple floor. Snoke loomed over him, his disfigured face twisted into a cruel grin. "Pathetic," he spat. "You are not a Jedi. You are a child, playing with fire." Luke, barely conscious, reached for his lightsaber. Snoke kicked it away. "You were never ready for this," Snoke whispered. Ahsoka Tano's starship descended through the smoke-filled skies of the ruined Jedi Temple. The flames cast eerie shadows, illuminating devastation. Her heart clenched as she approached. The scent of burning flesh was thick in the air. The temple was gone, and amidst the carnage, a lone figure sat on his knees, his back turned to her. Luke Skywalker. His Jedi robes were torn, stained with blood, his own and others. Before him, the lifeless bodies of Quinlan Vos, Oppo Rancisis, and younglings lay still, their bodies illuminated by the dying embers of the temple. He did not move, did not acknowledge her approach. Ahsoka stepped forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Luke." Nothing. She stepped closer, her voice firmer. "Luke." Still, he did not look at her. Ahsoka followed his gaze. His lightsaber was still ignited, the blade casting a ghostly light over the fallen. Tears stained his face, mixing with soot and blood. "I failed them," Luke finally murmured, his voice hollow. Ahsoka knelt beside him. "Who did this?" "Snoke." Luke's hands clenched into fists. "He took the children." The silence between them stretched, filled only by the crackling flames and distant echoes of the massacre. Luke looked down at his lightsaber. "I wasn't strong enough." Ahsoka reached forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We mourn later." Her voice was firm, but not unkind. "Right now, we find those kids." Luke did not move. Ahsoka grabbed his arm. "Get up, Luke." He turned to her, his eyes lifeless, distant. "Get up," she repeated, her voice leaving no room for refusal. And finally, Luke Skywalker rose to his feet. The Jedi were not finished. Not yet. Snoke had fled into the unknown regions, vanishing into the darkness from which he had come. But Luke and Ahsoka pursued without hesitation. Every lead, every whisper, every tremor in the Force, it all led them deeper into the void, until they found him. A desolate world, a forgotten place of shadows. Snoke had taken the children to a hidden fortress, far from the reach of the New Republic, far from hope. Luke and Ahsoka approached under cover of night. Through the Force they could feel them, the frightened younglings, trapped within cold metal walls. Luke's hands tightened around his lightsaber. Ahsoka could feel it, his anger, his guilt, festering like an open wound. Luke, she warned. I know, he muttered, but the fury in his voice told her otherwise. The battle began with fire. The fortress erupted into chaos as Luke and Ahsoka cut their way through Snoke's forces. Stormtroopers fell like wheat before a scythe. Blaster bolts were deflected effortlessly, thrown back with deadly precision. Luke fought with unmatched intensity, his saber movements faster, sharper, more aggressive than Ahsoka had ever seen. They reached the final chamber, and there he stood, Snoke, and behind him, the children, huddled in fear. Skywalker. Snoke's voice was like venom. Come to fail them again? Something inside Luke snapped. With a roar of rage, he attacked. Luke was faster this time, more precise, more ruthless. Snoke barely had time to react before Luke's lightsaber slammed against his own, sending him stumbling backward. He did not fight like a Jedi. He fought like something else. Snoke countered with a surge of dark energy, sending Luke crashing through the stone walls. But Luke was already back on his feet. He charged again, his strikes relentless, fueled by fury, embracing the darkness that was festering within him. For every death, for every child stolen, for the temple, for his fallen Jedi, he would end Snoke. Blow after blow, he overpowered his foe, battering him down, shattering his defenses. And then, with one final strike, Snoke fell to his knees. Luke stood over him, his chest heaving. His saber hovered just above Snoke's throat. It would take one motion, one stroke, and justice would be served. Snoke looked up at him, smiling through bloody teeth. Yes, strike me down, Jedi. Luke's grip tightened. The rage within him boiled over. He wanted this. He deserved this. He needed this. One more strike. One more blow. And then... Luke! Ahsoka's voice pierced the darkness. Luke froze. His lightsaber trembled in his grip. He could hear her voice. Steady. Unyielding. This isn't you. Luke's breath hitched. His mind cleared. The rage sank, replaced by something else. Horror. He saw himself as he was, standing over a defeated enemy, consumed by fury. This was the path his father had walked. This was the path he had sworn never to follow. His saber deactivated with a hiss. He stepped back. No. His voice was soft but resolute. I won't become this. Snoke laughed. Weak. And then, with his final strength, he lashed out. A bolt of crackling energy surged toward Luke. But it never reached him. Ahsoka had moved first. Her white blade slashed through Snoke's chest. His laughter died in his throat. And as the darkness left him, Snoke fell. The children were safe. The nightmare was over. But as Luke and Ahsoka stood outside the ruined fortress, watching the twin moons rise, Luke felt empty. I wasn't ready. His voice was hoarse. I thought I could rebuild the Order. I thought I could lead them. But I failed. Ahsoka sighed, crossing her arms. Maybe you weren't ready. Luke looked up at her, But neither am I, she admitted. Neither is anyone. But those kids, they have nowhere else to go. They can't train themselves. Luke exhaled, running a hand through his sweat-soaked hair. Ahsoka placed a hand on his shoulder. We will learn together, Luke. Her voice was gentle but firm. We build together. Luke stared at the horizon for a long time. Then slowly he nodded. Together. And with that, the Jedi would rise again. Not as they were, not as they had been, but as they were meant to be. The beginning was not over. It had just begun. Drop the scenarios you would like to see in the comments, and I will pick one every week for Fan Friday. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.